Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of The Closing Table. I am your host, James Garman.
This is Daniel White.
And I am Bernadette Garman.
Indeed, indeed,
We got a special guest today.
indeed.
I'm always
Oh,
active in the comment
that's
section.
me. I'm sorry, I had a double playback.
You are definitely active in the comment section, and now it's nice to have you on.
Thank you.
We're gonna make sure that James behaves, or at least you're gonna make sure he behaves.
Absolutely. That is
Indeed,
my
indeed.
job.
I did watch a husband and wife show on YouTube this weekend where there was a comment that was made between the two. One didn't agree, the other one did agree, and they kind of went back and forth. So for myself and for the audience, I'm hoping we get the same thing here today.
Well, that's how all of our conversations usually go. I mean,
Pretty
we
much.
usually start off like on the same page, and then somewhere along the line with the details,
Everything kind of just starts to create itself.
that's where the back and forth starts going.
I think that's how it happened this morning. The alarm went off, and I was like, babe, are you gonna make coffee? She's like, are you gonna make coffee? And we just lay there, waiting for the first person to get up to make coffee. She beat me. I didn't make the coffee. So
Look at you, bro.
the
Come on,
wife
bro.
won.
You got to get your butt out the bed, man.
Yeah, I had a hard time this morning. Normally I would go to boot camp, but this morning it was just like, and then Jay gets up and he's like, "Oh, let's go," and I'm like, "No, but whatever."
So you made it to
I'll do
boot
better
camp.
Wednesday.
No, she didn't make it to boot camp. Of course not. I made it to boot camp. I made it to boot camp. I had a good workout at the gym this morning. I like those Monday mornings when I can get up at 4:30-ish, 4:30-ish, and make it to the gym by 5 o'clock. Just really gets my day moving in the right direction and a more positive, on a more positive vibration. But before we get started with this conversation, I want to welcome again everybody to the closing table. Appreciate you all coming every single week to join us and give us, the feedback and being interactive in the comment section. So please make sure you jump into the comment section whenever we're speaking about something that may tickle your fanny, as they say. And yeah, we definitely want to hear what you have to say about some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Something that I really want to make sure that we focus on, and just in this conversation, is just overall. We've been talking about this pretty often lately about what's going on in the market, how the outcome of our civilization could end up on the brinks of destruction with the BRICS movement. We've talked about so many different outcomes and things that could be possibly happen, things that are happening. And overall, I think we should just kind of formulate this conversation around a conversation. Just, three people having a conversation about different perspectives, kind of seeing, where we are. So the thing is, there is something big happening, and again, if you're not focused on where you are right now and where you're trying to go with your life and your career, you may be up shit creek with no paddle. And a lot of people don't understand how impactful that is right now to be on top of your finances. So yeah, let's get it started. First of all, Daniel, how your weekend was good?
Weekend was amazing, my friend. Went out Saturday with a couple of partners to an event.
Okay.
And they absolutely killed it. We've been invited back for more. I also found us a new venue that has an amazing setup. I mean, absolutely amazing downtown. I don't want to give the secret away.
I'm like, do we need to change venues? I don't know. Do we need to change?
Yeah, no, buddy. No. But it's coming, and it's parking. It's fantastic. Got a couch setting and all that stuff. So I really think we can change the dynamic of the standard podium speaking kind of events that you go to that you've been going to for the last 5 to 10 years, and you're like, man, can somebody change it up? Well, yeah. I think we found a place where we could change it up for people.
Okay, kind of have like a panel, a summit, like
real couches, chairs, everything, a little bar in there. I mean, it's top notch, and it's crazy. I don't know how to respond. It's crazy because the wife and I, when we went there, it's a club that we used to go to back in the days, and they've reinvented it. So
that's how you use commercial space.
Yeah. So thank God the walls can't talk in that place because it'd be bad.
Understood. Bernadette, what about you? How was your weekend? Your weekend was good.
Yeah, weekend was awesome. As I was telling Danny, pretty much working, but it was with a client that I've been nurturing for a good minute, and got a chance to take him around. And like I said, hopefully we'll get him squared away this week, so that it was a good feeling. Other than that, I take the weekend to update and catch up on things that I couldn't catch up on during the week. So it was pretty productive. I took a little time for myself, obviously, but it was mostly spent catching up on things. We did go to Florida. We left Monday, got there Tuesday, had our event, or got there Monday, had our event on Tuesday. And so when we got back, it was like a lot of things I had to catch up on, and of course, laundry and house chores and things like that. So
All those lovely
just had the
duties.
opportunity to catch up on some things.
Yeah, I know everybody's upset we weren't here on Monday because you guys had to drive. I think it would have been pretty cool though if we would have done it from like the car.
Bernadette did mention it. I mean, y'all already get on me enough for driving and trying to text and do. I wasn't going to endanger my life while I was driving to appease you guys. So with that being said,
I can appreciate that, James. I can appreciate that.
With that being said, let's get into this conversation. First of all, I want to talk about the first thing I want to bring up is DeSantis versus Disney. I think that one of the first conversations I think I want to bring up because I think it's going to have an impact overall on a lot of things that's going on, not just in Florida, but overall it could have an impact and it could start creating some new avenues for us here in America overall, which I think at this point, we're in desperate or dire need of change. And I don't mean just in the sense of, paying off somebody's student loan debt, to create more debt for the American people or fixing homelessness. I'm talking about overall, we need a change of how we allow our society and our economic system to be used. And I think DeSantis is really on the verge of something, I think, pretty huge here, man. I don't know how you feel about this, Daniel, but you sent us over this video, and DeSantis is drawing up a new rule, right, that is going to create foreigners or stop foreigners from being able to purchase land in Florida, correct?
Correct, unless they are a resident. And if they currently own it, I mean, this is crazy right here, right? If they currently own property here and they have to register it with the state, and if they don't register it, so let's just say, again, we watched the video, we're busy people, right? I'm sure they're busy as well,
right?
If they own property here. And it's $1,000 fine a day. I believe it's law 1355 or something like that. It's being signed in this week, I think it is, right?
1355.
You say SB 1355?
Yes, House Bill 1355.
House Bill 1355. My thing about this is we know DeSantis could be
it's been happening. I mean, people have talked about this before.
Yeah.
Well, listen, they're talking about it being discriminatory. But listen, from a standpoint of an American and being in this country, I feel like it's common sense, guys. I mean, the Chinese have bought land in Africa, Australia, Canada, France, and they're buying up everything. Not only are they buying up, and we're talking about the Chinese as a foreign government, as our adversaries, okay, are buying land in all of these different countries, including the United States. And they're buying land around military bases. I mean, from a strategic standpoint,
stuff like that. Yep.
From a strategic standpoint, does that make sense to any country that's trying to protect itself to let your adversaries purchase land around your military bases? So, I mean, we have to look at it like that. It's not necessarily discrimination from a cultural perspective. It's what it's doing is protecting the country. Okay.
And again, I think you're on to a real point there, because if we look at the overall structure of our, global economic system. There's a lot of places in the world that doesn't allow any Americans to own land. If we do, we have to own it through a trust. Let's take our situation in Tulum right now. Okay,
Yep.
Tulum, I can't actually go down there and purchase one of those condominiums or the actual properties, the luxurious properties that we're building down in Tulum. I can't own that.
What country would you be able to go to in mass as Americans and go purchase large percentages of their farmland? You can't do that anywhere.
Right. And I'm agreeing with you, because overall we are setting ourselves up for, I think, some type of failure on a larger scale if we continue to allow other countries to come over and just pretty much use our free society to be able to freely do whatever they want when we can't do the opposite in theirs.
Or what we're saying is the American dollar is going to shit, and we need to put a stop on it because people are buying our property
with our dollar.
And they have been for a very long time.
And I'm joking about the American dollar going to shit. I'm
absolutely
kidding. Everybody, do not pull out your money from the banks, guys. It's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have borders, right? If you don't have the people that live in the country buying up, the land in the country as citizens, I mean, what country do you actually have? I mean, America's greatest strength is also America's greatest weakness. Okay, we let anybody and everybody in. Our borders are being penetrated. This, to me, is a strategic move by DeSantis that I completely agree with. Simply because if we don't protect our land, there will be no more America. I mean, we're already, as Daniel pointed out, our dollar is already gone to shit. It's already trading behind the yuan for the first time in history. And so, we have these banks collapsing, which I know we're going to get into. So we have a lot of economic decline that we're witnessing. And then to have, foreign nationals come in and purchase the land, I mean, we're practically giving the country away.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Right now, I think overall we have so many negatives happening at once. Also, again, with even this DeSantis situation, him going against Disney, him, going against a lot of the, and again, leftist agendas is what they're calling it. This is not my terminology. It's just terminology I have to use to relate to the people, just like, everything else. The leftist agendas, and overall, I mean, I think this, right. I think DeSantis has a notch in my book. If it's not Trump, I'm definitely voting for DeSantis due to the fact that he's pushing for this type of bill, because I could see this type of bill being implemented in our overall economic structure. And I feel like this would be a great bill to push to keep our, borders safe. Again, keep our, democracy, in alignment to what we built our democracy on. Now, I'm not saying that anybody shouldn't be able to come over here and do, business, because I think, foreign business is great. But I think our democracy has been manipulated, it has been abused by foreigners, coming over here being able to do what they want when I can't go do the same thing in their country. That's my biggest
adversary. It's absolutely been compromised. And of course, Disney is in Florida, and Disney has an agenda. I don't know if you guys saw recently, there's one of their executives came out and absolutely admitted that there was an agenda that they are pushing, on the kids, and it doesn't, and again, we're not saying that, people can't live as they want to live, but what it is Disney brings in a lot of the tourism into Florida. And so because they bring they bring a high economy to Orlando, right? They bring a lot of money into the area. They're being pressured by agents, you can call them, to push certain groups out and allow these nationals to purchase land. I mean, they're calling it discrimination.
Yeah,
they're saying that it's discriminatory, and Disney is backing this sort of agenda or this plot, whatever you want to call it. They're backing this. And so you have people like Dwayne Wade, who, these high profile people who are speaking out against, Florida and, the policies that are taking place in Florida. They're issuing travel advisories for, protected classes, and it's just a situation where they're declaring some sort of alternative war on conservatism, of which DeSantis is a conservative.
I will say this for U.S. investors, if this law goes through, and it's passed in certain other states already, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
I think there's like 11 or 12 that have already passed it, right? So this isn't anything new for Florida. 51% of the people will love this bill, 49% will hate it. And just like you said, it's discriminatory, it's this, it's that. But if it goes through and it gets passed, U.S. citizens, U.S. companies, people that have the money that can buy these lands, you better damn sure buy it. Otherwise, there's going to be some type of trust account that's owned by another trust account that's owned by another trust account from somebody outside. So you better purchase it so that you can protect. Because if you don't purchase something or you don't invest into it, then keep your mouth shut when it actually happens and it gets taken and we get taken over. Simple as that.
And from what I understand, people that had second properties in the area because of the tourism, they were flourishing at one point, but now the short-term rental industry,
the Airbnbs
is slowing down to the point where I think on Redfin there was like a 20 or 30% drop in business in the area. Could have, and don't quote me on that.
No, you're right. You're right.
Bernadette, because you're always typing in the chat, you missed it. We are telling people are listening to us, James. They're going to stop spending their money. Right?
Yeah.
They're stopping spending their money and taking all these extravagant vacations and all of that stuff, right?
Indeed.
We're getting across to people.
And to think about that, let's just speak about that real quick, because again, we just came back from Florida and everything like that, and it was an amazing trip. Had a great stay at a actual hotel. The hotel, and again, I didn't know this about Florida, but a lot of your hotels down there are set up like little condominiums, 1-bedroom condominiums. Mm-hmm. And I honestly say it was a well-equipped space for a reasonable price. On top of that, they have these type of deals or these type of programs where you take a tour around the property and they give you a free week. Okay. Timeshares, it's like those type of things that, draw you in to be more like, hey, I want to make sure I use a hotel next time. I want to go back to this hotel. There's so many benefits for me using this hotel. You don't have those type of benefits when you go to Airbnb. You just spend your money, you stay there and you leave. There's not, There's not credits or accommodations that are rewarded back to you for using the property for a certain amount of days or whatnot. So I do understand Airbnbs and things like that are changing. Had changed the economic structure of our real estate. And people were, investing into these things and looking for a quick buck, a quick opportunity to be able to get whatever money they was trying to get and then in and out of the situation. And now we see that there's an influx of people trying to get out of it because it's so oversaturated at this point, So
guys, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can still hear you, Bernadette, but we get to look at El Gato.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
I'm not sure what's going on.
No,
James,
you're fine.
You are right. Why Bernadette fixes her camera, right? We've spoke about this on episode 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? That, the Airbnbs and those short-term rentals, like a lot of us missed that boat. Now so many people want to get into it, right? It got crazy, chaotic for what? For the last 5 years, maybe, James? Does that sound right? Okay. Yeah. So last 5 years, if you weren't in it at that time, it's difficult for you to get into it right now, right? Because property values are up. I know people will make comments the way the economy is, but again, property values are up from 5 years ago. And now to set up your Airbnb costs a heck of a lot more than it did 5 years ago. On top of that, now we have counties in states saying, hey, we don't want any more Airbnbs. We're done. If it's not a primary residence or if it's not a short-term rental of 5 or less times in a 12-month period, we don't want that property. Sorry for your luck. We don't want it here. Sell it or make it a full-time rental. I do get that in certain areas. Like if I'm a resident and I own a property near the beach, I already know that it's going to be tourists. I know that people are coming every weekend. And when you start throwing in regular residential areas, because most of those neighborhoods around the beach don't have HOAs, don't have CDDs, you know what I'm saying? So you really get to do what you want. And that's what people did. I mean, I insure a couple of them that are on Indian Rocks Beach. That's one of my favorite places in the world to go to, but it is absolutely crazy. It's not the same as it was when I was growing up, or even 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I started taking our kids there, you know? So it's impacting the communities. Yes, they're making money, but the chaos and everything else that comes with it, people are getting away from it.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Real quick, let me take a quick 30-second break. Let me make sure I can get her back on, and we'll be right back. All right. Yeah, don't know. I apologize about that, everybody. Bernadette is probably going. She's out of commission. She is out of commission. I don't know what happened to her camera, but
nice.
Sorry, Bernadette.
Get on the chat.
Yep, jump in the chat. But yeah, good conversation.
I just made a comment. Said someone tell me about your weekend. Bernadette can talk about how her camera just went.
Went completely dead. But yeah, so overall, but yeah, Daniel, overall, I think the census is making a great decision with that. I definitely think he's coming out on top for me with making that decision. And I look forward to, seeing what else he's going to do, for, our country in the long term.
And James, we could probably talk about it all day on this show. There's other topics that we could talk about, but something has to happen, right? And you can't knock the guy for wanting to protect the state that he represents and was elected to do what he feels is the right thing to do. And again, I know with that being said, there are things that I do not agree with him on, but in this case, I do agree. So.
Yeah, indeed. So, all right. So let's talk about Blackstone real quick. Blackstone, is a publicly traded company that has pretty much been at the foot of this real estate boom for the last 15, 20 years, just like BlackRock. Blackstone and BlackRock is not the same, guys, ladies and gents. Excuse me. So
what do you mean, James? Explain. Can I have a definition of both?
Yeah. Well, one is a stone and the other one is a rock. That's pretty much the difference. But no, Blackstone has opened up a new fund to raise $30 billion, and they've raised $30 billion correctly. We phrase that they've raised $30 billion in their Blackstone 10 fund, I think. But this means just means that this is their 10th fund that they've raised. A lot of people in the past few months, they thought the decline of the real estate was going to happen, so they started pulling their money out of Blackstone. But Blackstone was able to start back raising money, and they raised $30 billion. So this tells us something major is happening in our economy, especially when it comes to the real estate factors. Something huge is coming.
James, that I've been watching, you and I have talked about this, that I've been watching the commercial side of things more so than the residential side, right? Because something's happened. Like they purchased, they did a fund of what was it, $30 billion to set up and purchase? Is that right?
Yep, to set up and purchase. Yep.
Okay. Just to give you some stats, right? In the last 12 months, 2022, the average day, what's this one here? Let's see, days to sell. So in 2023, we have dropped more than half of the sales on commercial side of business than we did in 2022. And we're not even 6 months into the year yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's from the Hillsborough County stats.
And listen, I personally, I know that the commercial real estate is, and again, I'm not into commercial real estate. I'm not a commercial real estate agent. But I know for a fact that we're seeing a decline in commercial real estate because, again, people are still working from home. Big box stores are not doing what they were doing, 3 years ago, 2 years ago during the pandemic. We know they made a killing during those times where they was able to, jack up the prices on stuff like tissue and stuff like that. And even Target, we talked about this last week, week before last, Target and everything like that, Walmart's, the Amazon stores. There's a lot going on with these different markets. And, we do see a lot of people like Amazon are now using some of their warehouses for car garages, their parking spaces for their employees. So we do see a decline in real estate, and not just, when you go down to the city and you see these empty retail stores. We're seeing them on a bigger scale. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean people like Blackstone are going to come in and start buying these bigger buildings? And if they are, and they're going to be buying these commercial spaces, what are they planning on doing with them? What do you like? What can you think about when it comes to this commercial structure that these people like Blackstone be able to do with these commercial spots?
I think personally, James, God, man, I don't want to give the secret out, but I think they take the commercial spots and they turn it into a combination of residential with commercial spots, right? You're close enough to an attractive area. Disney, we'll use that. If you're attracted to the beach area, right? And you can get a cheap room, stay there, and having a shopping center right next door, smaller version of may have been what was there before. I think that's what they're going to do, right? I think that's what that fund or that pot of money is going to do, is that they're going to wait for the commercial industry, for the buildings and stuff to somewhat tank, and they're going to come in and grab them up, because there's so many that took advantage of the lower interest rates. And on a commercial building, that's what, I don't know, what do you think the cost of your building is for a Bank of America downtown in Atlanta?
Oh man, the whole building or just one floor?
The whole building, right?
Man,
how much is the whole building? I mean, that number is absolutely crazy. So they definitely do a balloon loan, something like that for a short term. And with the rates going up, they're getting ready to get killed. I mean, that's why we're seeing a decline in purchase of commercial property. I have 3 buildings here in Land O'Lakes that I don't have them listed. Otherwise, I'd be telling my guys to drop the price, because they've been sitting on the market probably for 2 years now, right? 2 years sitting there. I mean,
wow, really?
They've had to change the sign at least 2 or 3 times because it gets so dirty, my friend, right?
That's crazy.
Tells you that they're either overpriced or people are just scared to buy right now, right? What's the interest rate on a commercial building right now? For regular residential, it's 6.5. I couldn't tell you what the rate is on a commercial building. We'll ask Joe later.
I mean, it's always higher. So I'm assuming probably 9-10%.
9-10% on, I don't know, $2 billion building. $2 billion building. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit out of my scope. But again, like you said, residential. This could definitely be used as residential. Why would we use this as residential? Well, let's go into my next conversation. American economic housing across the globe is crazy. What we're seeing right now is an influx of, again, interest rates, price increases. Supply and demand is not where it should be. There's more demand than there is supply. So that means we're got buyers fighting over the few properties that are left. Okay. Then we got tiny houses. We got the tiny housing communities now going up because, again, the amount of space you get for the bulk of your money is shrinking, which means you're only getting 600, 700 square feet for $200,000. There's a tiny community here in Georgia where me and Bernadette was running the numbers to see how suffice or beneficial would be to start building those. And 600 square feet going for 230,000, 240,000, and the price to build is technically 110, 130. So there are, situations we're seeing where our economic, decline or rise in people being able to afford affordable living is shrinking. So for me, overall, I think these buildings will be used for residential, multi-use, multi-use industries. You got the commercial space below, like we see in New York, and we have 400 square feet apartments above them.
New York really kind of scares me. Like all that commercial building and everything that's in there. I mean, even after COVID, they had said that it dropped 15-20%. I can't imagine what the occupation, the amount of people that are in those commercial buildings right now still working. That's scary.
Yeah, bro. Overall, I think when it comes down to it, we have to be more visible in the things that are going on. We have to have our eyes focused on the bigger plots and the bigger plans, because there's opportunity. There's opportunity for it. All right, we got Bernadette back. There's opportunity.
James, you are right. Like you and I, right? Can't go out there and buy a Bank of America building, right? Can't go and buy this, nice, beautiful building downtown in our area. But there are funds, and it's definitely something to keep your eye on, because these buildings are huge. They're not going to just stay vacant forever. Somebody will come in with a creative mind, redo the inside and change it all up and come up with this great idea. And you just want to be there on the ground floor, right?
On the ground floor.
You want to be there on the ground floor. So if you see commercial staking, you got to pay attention to it.
You got to pay attention. You got to be ready to pounce on those opportunities, because there's going to be opportunities for people to win in these situations. So this takes me into my next, Bernadette. Thank you for getting back to us. I know you got kicked off, but overall, this is what I want to go to, because we're talking about American housing. We understand how difficult it is to get homes. Let's talk about the homeless right now in America. So the reason why I want to talk about the homeless in America is because the homeless in America versus Japan. And if any of you not familiar with the homelessness in Japan, it's almost non-existent. Out of their whole economy, you know how big Japan is. That shit is big. So, and you know how many people are there, But overall, Japan has found a way to minimize the homelessness. At least that's what they present to us on a major scale, on a commercial scale. So only 0.03% of Japanese people in Japan are considered homeless. They make it difficult for you to be homeless. First of all, we've seen those new benches and the way they change the benches so you can't sleep on them. They put those dividers in between them, make the space this big just for your butt cheeks to go on. But there's a lot, Japan does to create a atmosphere where homelessness is not accepted. Like one thing they also do is they fine people for begging. Like there's a fine if you get caught begging. So, and it's also a cultural image thing that they have. They don't want people. They made people feel bad to be homeless. They feel ashamed. So what they do is they create these cyber cafes. Cyber cafes exist where people can pretty much rent these cubicles, 24-hour cubicles, where they literally sleep in these cubicles for like $17 to $24 a day. Like these things are super tiny. It's like this big. Like it's crazy how small these things are, and you can Google this. But that keeps down the homelessness. It's like affordable homelessness is what they call it, because most of their economy works part-time or for minimum wage, and they can't afford to live in luxury or any type of standard single family or apartment.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat, James.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
listen, there's homelessness everywhere. I don't know. I showed you yesterday. I showed you what's going on in France. Danny, I don't know if you've seen France lately, but France looks like Venice Beach does now in California. It looks like Skid Row. Okay, compared to the France maybe 10, 15 years ago, where it seemed like it was thriving. Everybody wanted to go. Everybody wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. Now it's plagued by homelessness. And there's so many places that are plagued by homelessness. The United States, California. When was the last time you were in California? Have you ever been to California, Danny?
I have not been to California.
Okay. No. Okay. Definitely not the California I grew up in. You're literally stepping over people. I used to say that this was a purely, poverty was purely a mental situation, which is why they could never solve it. But now I think that they are literally creating the problem with everything that we see going on in California. The just the raise in the interest rates, like you certain, you get over a certain amount of you hit a certain tax bracket, they're taxing the hell out of people. The mortgage and the rental rates are ridiculous. I mean, my daughter-in-law, she's paying like $5,000 a month in rent. Actually, she's going from and now she's just opting to go from place to place, extended stays and stuff like that. So I mean, and people are choosing to stay there. But
Bernadette, it's crazy. I was watching TV this weekend, and I caught a stat about California because they were talking about California, San Francisco, all that stuff, and they showed like if you make 48,000 to 60,000 in California, you're taxed like 22%.
How is that possible? Like how is that possible? How can you live there? You can't live there.
There's no way.
And like I'm telling people, I'm sorry, build your ark. I mean, it sounds like, I've been a survivalist for a few years now. Like, I want to collect the food, dry food, MREs, water, and all this stuff. But I'm just saying,
nothing to do with your military background.
Listen, nothing to do with that. Like literally, and I'm not a religious fanatic either. But what I'm saying is, there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of anecdotes in the Bible that, we kind of need to be paying attention to. One of those things is build your ark. You have to be prepared. Like the title says, things are happening that are going to shock you. And we're not, I don't even think we're close to the peak.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think we're quite where people think. And most of the time, people don't react. They do not react until it's too late. And that's the thing that, we wish we could prevent. But most of us, we live in this buy now, pay later society where I think, Daniel, me and you watched the video about, me and Bernadette watched the video about a lady who pretty much don't care about what tomorrow brings. It's all about, can I get what I want now? If I can't afford it out of my pocket, I'm using my credit cards. I'm overspending my credit cards. Like this Generation Z. And again, this is not me throwing Generation Z under the bus, but and again, it could be my, my generation as well, and our generation that pretty much helped usher this new way of thinking. We don't that YOLO lifestyle. You only live once. You only live once.
We've been sheltered. This was the richest country on the planet. We're headed in a different direction, but I mean, we've been sheltered and we've been in this bubble where we think nothing's going to happen. We haven't actually hit something like a depression. Like our great grandparents. Had to live through. A lot of economic depression, and so we really have never experienced that. So we and especially younger generations don't think it'll ever happen. They don't think they'll ever see it.
No, and they think everything is a clean slate and I'm free to do whatever I want.
We used to talk about bank collapses in the 90s. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that, but we used to talk about, the banks are going to collapse, they're going to consolidate. We're going to have this one world system, this one currency. We used to talk about that in the 90s. And, back in the 90s, it was called a conspiracy theory. But now, to actually live through it, we're talking about Fed Now, right? Fed Now is going to be the new digital currency that the government is, putting out there for the American public, because and we're literally watching all of the things that we call conspiracy theories become facts. So now that we see this, it's time to build your ark. You have to have the gold and silver. You have to, make some sound investments and make some decisions and do it quickly. We've had plenty of time to prepare, but we were so busy in this bubble thinking nothing's going to happen.
Thinking nothing is going to happen.
COVID comes, and 9 months average across the U.S. I think it was 9 months. 7 to 9 months, we're kind of locked in our houses. We're saving money because you can't do anything with it, right? Uber Eats is killing it. All you're doing is paying your bills and pocketing the money that you could pocket. Hopefully, James, that's where I'm going.
Amazon was killing it now.
Hopefully you were saving it, but the money the government was giving you and stuff like that, right? Like you couldn't go to the movie theater, you couldn't go to the mall, like you really couldn't do them. And then COVID stops, and then we just spend it all. And
Spend
it.
going back to the lady that says, "Oh, well, if I can't afford it, if I can't use my debit card, I'm going to use my credit card." Well, that's what you can't do that, right? That's the problem, right?
And
but we're so used to getting a check. Here you go, James. What do you guys want me to write that check for? You want me to write it for $1,600? Is that good for 2 months?
And I think our lending system has to change as well, because we have these predatory lending that goes on multiple scales. We have predatory lending in the housing market. We have predatory lending in the credit card market, the predatory lending in the car industry. You know, there's been predatory lending in all facets. Now people are talking about putting their freaking food on credit. Like, you want to go grocery shopping on credit. Like, the buy now, pay later structure is what's killing our society. The Chinese culture is able to financially be able to sustain because they live by a principle. They live by 4 facts. Only buy what you need. Only spend 10% of every dollar you get. So if you make $1, spend 10 cents. That's all you need to spend to live. They also live on the fact on the Chinese New Year. They don't even say Happy New Year. They don't even say Happy New Year in Chinese. They say, "I hope you get rich," and I think it's Gong Oi something. But it's,
I can't believe you were actually going to try it. Go ahead.
Come on, I've been practicing my Mandarin. Gong Oi eat fat. Eat fat, gong oing fat choi. Gong oing fat choi. Yo, I know it is. That's fact. Gong oing fat choi means I hope you get rich. Like, literally, they hope you get rich. That's what they live on. They live on the principle of saving your money, because, you know, in China, they respect people with money. Here in America, we don't respect people with money. We look down on them. We look at them like they're evil. In China, they respect people that has money. They respect you, the fact that you worked hard to get where you got. And it's a uplifting thing in China. Here in America, we look down on the rich. We say tax them even more. They don't do that in China. They say let them keep more, but let them make sure they don't spend as much. That's why they have the $50,000 a year rule. Like, you can only withdraw like $50,000 out of your account every year. Now, I don't like that rule, but yeah, I understand why they do that though. Now
So
I'm
you have to
understanding
get an
why
exception if you're in China and you want to buy property in America.
Yes, there is an exception.
$50,000 out.
Yeah, there is an exception, but it's a process. It's such a long process that's why some of those Chinese deals take so long to go through, because the Chinese government is going to be involved in that deal regardless.
Yeah.
There's no deals that's going without the Chinese government being involved.
And with any foreign transaction here, there's a holdback, stuff like that. For
exactly, and that's the reason why if we go to the BRICS, they're creating their own situation where they can now fund their deals through their own currency. You know, the renminbi is taking over, and I'm not saying that like it's going to stay where it's at, but I think the hype of the renminbi right now, which is the yuan, the Chinese dollar, is so hyped up right now because people are saying Chinese people understand the financial economics of what they're doing and what they've been doing.
Well, they're also very strategic.
They're strategic, very strategic.
You know, we were looking for Red Dawn. We were looking for the parachutes to come in and the nuclear war and all of this stuff. But actually, what's been happening over the last 3 or 4 decades is infiltration into our system through politics, corporations, and things of that nature. Yep. Right. So now we're witnessing the decay of our society based on, you know, the principle of putting the weak in power, you know, and putting the I don't know how to say it, but you know, without being offensive, but putting people who normally wouldn't be in power in powerful positions.
Yes.
Okay. And that way they can be puppeteered. We know that a lot of people in our government were making deals behind, you know, closed doors with Chinese nationals, with foreign governments, things of that nature. So that's why we're looking at, okay, you know, they've been buying up land, and I don't know. I think it was you I spoke to, Jay, years ago, and I was talking about
Detroit.
Detroit, yeah,
they bought up blocks and blocks of Detroit, like everything that we're moving away from. They seeing value in it, and like we're not even buying our own country back.
They came
and what they do is, if they buy enough land, right, they control the flow of money,
the economy.
So they back off and allow the community to just
flourish.
diminish.
Absolutely.
Like just go to crap. And with that being said, it's like the properties in Detroit that we were so afraid to move to Detroit because it was quote unquote crime riddled. They were buying for $1,200, buying
Whole
blighted
block.
properties for whole blocks for 10,000, commercial buildings for a few $100. Like Detroit at one point had an incentive. We will pay you to buy this. We will pay you to come in and fix it up. How many of us took advantage of that as Americans? How many of us took advantage of those type of or deals? I'm not moving to Detroit, what they quote unquote called the toilet. Like they felt like that city was crap. They felt like that city wasn't worth putting in the energy and bringing it back to life. Well, guess what? One person's trash is another person's treasure. And if someone can come in with an economic structure and an economical outlook and onset to go out and say, hey, we're going to build, we're going to grow this, enough people marching behind that ideal is going to flourish. I think we're too singular. We have a singularity mindset where we have, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. No, let's collaborate. There's enough funds out here. There's enough hedge funds out here who will back you for those type of deals because they need to put that money somewhere anyways. So that's my thing.
We definitely have to be prepared, for whatever's coming in terms of, I think there's going to be a wave of foreclosures.
Yes.
I think there's going to be some investment opportunities, when stocks drop and things like that. And, I listened to some of my favorite economists and investors, Robert Kiyosaki, and I know that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for wealth shift, for people who are prepared. So that's why I was saying, build your arc. You want to be prepared in every way possible. Economically, you want to be, able to feed yourself for a few months if it comes to that. But definitely, I think there's going to be a lot of investment opportunities if you're prepared for that.
And let me ask you this, Daniel. How should we be looking at our future, man, when it comes to our children, when it comes to our young adults and the school structure? I think school and education has failed us on so many levels, teaching us this, and this is just me. I think it's really cancerous education. I think it's a cancerous education because I think the things they're teaching us is not conducive to our modern day society, to our modern day living. It's cancerous and it's a tumor that's growing and is going to infect the rest of the world, the youth who are not thinking in the new form, because school is teaching them the basic stuff that we had to know during the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is gone. It does not exist anymore. So why are we still teaching our kids as if this is still 1930, 1945, So how do you feel about the things we need to see changed in our school and education to help our kids?
I definitely think some things definitely have to change in our school systems, right? I can't believe that our children now don't know how to write in cursive, stuff like that. But again, that kind of goes back to our old school stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a different day and age right now, and there's way too many hands in the governing body of your local schools. Like, they don't like each other. It's just like Washington. Like it's absolutely crazy. And this is our future, right? Like, I watch these debates back and forth, and I've seen teachers throw the mic down and walk out because they didn't get what they wanted in that hall or whatever it is. And, until that is fixed, James, I think you and Bernadette do a great job, right? You talk about your daughter. I talk about my son and my daughter. And I think we try to give them that guidance, or that as much information as we possibly can, to help them succeed. And I think we as parents need to get involved until the school system gets fixed, because nowadays, if their grades are low and it's 2 days before the end of the semester, they're like, okay, just come here for 5 or 6 hours, finish all the work, redo all the tests and everything. And it's like we give a trophy for second place.
Yeah. We definitely have that South society.
It's got to stop. Like, I think it happened when I was in school. Like, they did the no hold, or maybe I was right out of school.
Well,
I was thinking I was younger than I am, but
yeah, you're not that old either, Daniel. Don't be trying to trick us with the gray hair, man. You're not that old either. Listen,
they implemented a no holdback rule.
Yep.
What is that?
I know.
They're not
honestly,
up to par. Why are we putting them on to the next grade?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And it's because somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. Well, that's okay.
Now, yeah.
Two things will happen. Either they will have their butt will be hurt, or they're going to step up to the plate and be like, you know what? Everybody my age just went on to the next grade and I'm stuck here. I need to get to work.
Work. Indeed. And again, there was this thing, I think I was held back in the 5th grade for, I think, back then, if you failed one area of education, they hold you back overall. They didn't just pass you along and say, you have to retake this class. So I think it was math that I wasn't so great in. But again, I don't think it was me personally that the reason why I failed math. I think it was my overall living situation, the things that were going on at home, the lack of structure and foundation that I had. Like, it was just, I couldn't focus the way I needed to focus on certain areas of my education. But when I got to 7th grade, they said, hey, you're supposed to be in 8th grade. So they've created this program called Fast Track. So they're going to dump you with all of this quick information, and help you get to the class you're supposed to be in, versus making me or forcing me to go through the process of, hey, you have to focus no matter how hard adversity gets. You have to stay focused no matter how hard times get. And I had to create and teach me how to create a more, callous mentality to keep moving forward, even though I was a grade behind. But no, we're going to put you in this class to push you forward, to get you where you're supposed to be. Now, luckily, during our time in school, or my time in school, we weren't at the point where that was pushed like, you have to just pass, you have to pass. So you still have to go through some of the things you needed to go through to get to where you needed to be to graduate, to go to college. Now, even my daughter, we had this conversation just this past, my daughter's new teacher, because her other teacher had a baby and wanted to stay at home, be a stay-at-home mom. Her new teacher's 22. My daughter's 17. What the hell can a 22-year-old teach a 17-year-old other than how to party?
This conversation, okay?
Yeah. Other than how to.
You said something important. You said, the previous school age was taught, it was began during the industrial revolution, and basically it was designed to train kids to work in a warehouse, right, or a factory. We're moving into the age of AI, right? So we have like Chat GPT. We have these kids are more technologically intelligent than we are. I'm
sorry. I hate to say it, and lazier.
I was going to say that because I don't know if they're really technically advanced. I think technology made their life so simple. And
they're lazy. My 5-year-old grandson, Jedi is, he knows how to read. He's typing in things in the search bar. He knows how to search. But put a ball in his hand.
But he's
looking at you like, what is this?
Right.
And I'm not going outside to play basketball or baseball.
Right. I could play it on my tab.
Again, but it's also they're using technology as more of a distraction versus an educational tool, because these kids, computers are coding themselves now. Like, you just tell a computer what to code, it codes it. You don't have to actually do the coding. So are they becoming more technical sound, or are they becoming more technical useful?
More dependent on technology.
Like, they know how to use the technology, but they don't know how to actually build the technology. My daughter asked me the other day, I got 3 screens here. She was like, how do I get the mouse from one screen? Just move it. Like just move the mouse. It's gonna track. Like, just simple things are still out of reach for a lot of our, youth, even when in tech age. So I think the school system needs to change. Parenting needs to change. And I'm not the one to teach you how to parent, because I probably messed up so many ways myself that I'm just now learning that I should have been doing. But again, we are in that phase where it's a thin line between us winning and us losing our economy. And I'm heading more towards the way things are going. We're on the verge of losing our economy. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that we're going to pull through and we're going to be on the winning side, James.
But Danny, I would love to believe that, but I think things need to start changing, like with these younger generations, for us to be able to do that. I'm watching these videos now. These kids are more political. They're more political than we were. Out like
well, there's only like right now with this new generation, there's only two parties, and to me, it's you're either conservative or you're a globalist.
If you're one or the other, then you're evil either way. You're evil either way. So yeah, it's going.
And then there's the people that stand outside and just kind of observe both.
Yeah.
So. It used to be just liberal and conservative. Now it's globalist and conservative, and it's just like
tomorrow there'll be something else.
Yeah.
Like be another party added to it or so. Yeah. It's a little crazy. My wife always used to say to my daughter, like when they get argument, or my daughter would be like, Mom, I know that. My wife would be like, what, you think TikTok's right? Like
yes, TikTok is right in this sense. Yes, in so many ways.
On the other hand, like, all right, so I got to change a carburetor out of a weed eater, blah, 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 and all that stuff. We go to YouTube and watch a video. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So TikTok is right. I mean, TikTok and YouTube is right when you want it to be right. That's the thing. Because there's so many different opinions out here now. Like even our opinion is going to be crucified because again, even though Daniels, he's considered a Democrat in a lot of sense. Being a Democrat and a Republican doesn't mean you can't see both sides of the fence.
Correct.
That's the thing. People think just because you're one or you identify as one or the other. I identify with what's right. If Democrats said some stuff right now that made sense to me, I'm with it.
Listen, JFK Jr. sounded good to me. So that's why I was like, sometimes you got to just sit back and observe.
Right. Sometimes you have to sit back and observe and really listen to
Bernadette, you said it absolutely right. That's the problem, right? Mm-hmm. The last 8 years have been fist punching each other, beating each other up. Sit back and listen and watch both sides. Listen to both. Stop just listening to one side. Get somebody else's perspective. You're going to get different little nuggets from each one of those conversations, and then do your research and watch it. Right? Yeah. Like it is absolutely crazy. I am liking to hear James though talk more about DeSantis stuff. I am liking that.
Well, listen, DeSantis is just Trump in sheep clothing, bro. I'm telling you, he's just shadowing Trump.
And 40 years younger too. 40 years.
Yeah. And I would accept that. I would accept that. Overall, he's younger. He's more relatable. And again, if he keep pushing policies for policies like this, I'm totally for DeSantis. But again. If it comes down to DeSantis and Trump, I'm voting Trump. If Trump loses, I'm also DeSantis if he decides to keep pushing forward. That's just what it is, man. I like the idealisms of what's going on with these candidates. I see, it's real quick. I know we got to go. And I did hear Joe Biden's speech recently. You can't stop me. They said worst speech, come on, Joe.
Pure comedy.
Did you see the speaker that they had up there? He's making jokes to everybody in the audience, and he goes to Biden. He goes, "Yeah, Biden's sitting over here thinking that I'm the father from what's that cartoon show on Fox or whatever."
Well, which one? Not King of the Hill, but Family Guy.
Family Guy or whatever. Yeah. He just sits there kind of like, come on, man. Fight back, man. No,
you don't want to see that, Danny. You don't want to see that.
Yeah, when he said Dark, I'll let these jokes go, but Dark Brandon won't. I was like, he doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. But
he doesn't get the joke.
We need some comedy sometimes in the politics. But overall, I do want to see us have more policies and stop all this damn bickering and let us know what the policies are. Let us know how we're going to get our America back. Let us know how we're going to stay on top of what we're doing. And I like what DeSantis is doing. I like what he came out and said. Again, I don't know how this lawsuit against Disney is going to affect him in the pollings and the runnings if he actually decide to, keep pushing forward for that. But I don't know if it's going to be good, Daniel. If he doesn't beat this Disney, they're going to definitely label him, some type of discriminatory, negative, racist type of person who don't want LGBTQ members to be doing this and da 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 da. Yeah. But it's just a lot going on, man. It's a lot going on, and I hope we can. Stand. We can make it through. We can make it through.
Yeah. Until Thursday, Thursday we got more to talk about as well, right?
Yep, indeed. Next week we're going to have some special guests coming in talking to us about more about real estate, and
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Those guys and ladies are some heavy hitters, man.
So yeah, we'll definitely be announcing that soon. But other than that, listen, everybody have a great one. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification bell. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the comments.
Go kill it.
Yeah, and go kill it. Yeah, go be great, and don't
Bye,
miss out on
everybody.
no opportunities.